What makes you think that someone is immature? An inability to take responsibility for their actions/emotions. When they do everything last minute. Don't have their priorities straight. Constantly talk but never listen. Dump all their problems on you. Spend money on stupid unnecessary things. Those are just some of my pet peeves. Being passive-aggressive. Not communicating their emotional needs. Low blow arguing. Being deliberately cruel. Poor emotional regulation. Lack of discipline and prefers instant/short-term gratification. Would rather be passive-aggressive than openly communicate their feelings. Has trouble putting themselves in other people's shoes and only sees things from their perspective. There are a lot of people who do think about things a lot, but don't realize that they're only ever thinking from their own perspective. Changing how they act around men and women like people do in middle school. Posting too much on Snapchat or Facebook or whatever. It's like they are so consumed with themselves and desperate for attention like a child. Not taking responsibility when they make a mistake. Instead they shift responsibility or become aggressive. We all mistakes. Just say sorry and keep it moving. Inability to take accountability. Raising their voice in attempt to dominate conversation. Unable to communicate properly and effectively. Such as passive-aggressiveness or undisciplined anger. Pettiness. Chasing and running dynamic. People who shut down as soon as any emotions are involved, no matter how calmly they're shared. Especially if those emotions are about a thing they did to hurt someone, and relatedly people who stonewall/cold shoulder. When fathers think that being a good provider is enough to be considered as a good parent. Refusing to take responsibility. Loves to have fun but does not deal with the consequences of having said fun. Does not find manners important. Constantly talking about sex. Lack of emotional intelligence. Not in a shameful way. It's hard. But without emotional intelligence it's hard to be mature. Talking down to people when they make mistakes or aren't sure how to do a task. Grinds my gears. Because when someone makes an honest mistake, you don't make it huge. Fix it. Make sure they know why and how they went wrong, but you don't need to broadcast it to the room. To me, discretion is a trait worth developing. How they react in arguments and amp. Not growing or learning from their mistakes. Not saving extra money they have when they can. Ignoring existing problems. Giving the silent treatment. Relying on their parents to pay for things. It's different if they genuinely don't have the money and need help, that's fine. I just mean people who want to keep their money and get their parents to pay for stuff. Having no self-reflection. Not being open-minded or realizing that things should be shared in a relationship after a certain amount of time together. Not learning to look after yourself, e.g. cooking, washing, ironing, that sort of thing. Thinking you're never wrong. Leaving things until last minute or canceling last minute, without reasonable cause. These are just things I watch out for in people. It might be a long list, but I find people, partners, with these qualities usually clash with me. When they're still grossed out by body hair. I live in a high-rise. So whenever I see someone spitting off a balcony then laughing like it was so funny. When they punch holes in the wall because they were angry about a video game. Inability to apologize. When they trash talk people behind their back. Always needing the last word in arguments, and when a fact on an unfamiliar topic sounds wrong to them, still assuming they're right and the expert who wrote the article is wrong. With zero research on their part. Inability to see things from other people's perspectives. Won't consider the feeling of others. Thinking in such a black and white way. If somebody wrongs them, They're 100% villain and have never done anything good in their lives. These type of people tend to have such a strong victim mentality. They intentionally block parts of the stories they tell that can tell someone that they are in fact not a victim at all. Example. A harassed B on the street wouldn't leave B alone. Then B pushed A. A will just tell people that B pushed him/her and omit the truth. People living in the main character mindset. Everyone and everything revolves around them. If they want something, there is no such thing as negative impact or consequences. They want it, so it is 100% good. And everything else will work itself out. People who mudsling when they don't know what else to say. They use harmful words instead of trying to resolve an issue. An argument about sweeping the floor turns into them insulting your appearance. Oh, and people who say stuff like hit the wall. When someone constantly gossips or starts drama. Can't take rejection. Not quite a signal for immaturity. But my barometer for maturity is the ability to be happy for others, even when you are still figuring things out for yourself. It's no shock that this skill is difficult to master. So I wouldn't say lacking it makes one immature. But usually those who have it are pretty emotionally mature, in my experience. I like the question. BTW. Up. Saying not. I don't read books with a condescending grin like they're cool or some shit. Inability to admit they are wrong / that someone may know more about a certain topic. When they don't try to understand the other person's point of view in a disagreement. Or what the person's life may have been like which molded them into thinking or behaving a certain way. When they rather be prideful than apologize when they are wrong. This one is huge. A lot of people tend to not apologize just so they can tip the scale and remain dominant or not vulnerable. Having sexist views / not knowing basic things about other sexes, men who still don't know how tampons work / people in general who don't know basic anatomy. People who can't take care of themselves and their basic needs. Like not being able to clean up after themselves or not paying bills because they forgot / putting off these responsibilities until they become a huge issue. Ad hominem attacks / being passive aggressive instead of listening and working out a problem. People who have children extremely young and then do a terrible job of parenting them. My boyfriend's sister is getting married to someone she absolutely shouldn't be getting married to and had her mother make a bunch of plans for tasting things / seeing venues and then at the last minute decided to just get married at the courthouse. She's very entitled and expects everyone to revolve around her. Things like that. Looking for validation externally. Buying things they can't afford because it feels good. Lack of empathy. Close-mindedness. Adults who don't know how to, or neglect to do, basic life tasks / responsibilities. Create and follow a budget. Prioritize personal time and spending. Know how to file taxes. Basic cooking skills. Keep house clean. Go to the dentist regularly. Go to the doctor regularly. Etc. Those things aren't adulting. It's just being a fully functioning adult. By adult I mean anyone over college age. Examples of someone who is immature. 1. Complains about not having money to buy groceries or pay for appointments / necessities. But goes to Starbucks multiple times a week or buys expensive concert tickets. 2. Complains about not having time to exercise because they are so busy. But then just sits on the couch and watches TV for a couple hours when they get home from work. 3. Calls parents to file taxes or make appointments for a car oil change instead of trying to figure it out themselves. 4. Doesn't make regular dentist appointments because they don't know how to figure out insurance information or finding a provider. And just doesn't do it instead of trying to learn how to. When they give the silent treatment. I'm not talking about people who go silent because they need to cool off or need space to think over things. I'm talking about folks who will sulk and show you they are giving you the cold shoulder until you cave. Those that will instantly become better once they get their way. Doing things that annoy or inconvenience or humiliate other people and thinking that's humor. They're not responsible. They can't regulate their emotions. They don't behave, dress, or speak appropriately in the required situations. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't apologize when they're wrong. Being mean/cruel to others. Antagonizing people or being passive-aggressive.